Yeah.
All
What'd you
right,
say?
we're on.
Mine says 8 o'clock. Both of mine.
Too.
Anyways, one of the things I want to welcome you all, and especially because we have a couple of people who haven't been on a Zoom call yet since we started them. We started them at the end of December. We did our December one a little late after Christmas, so because we had board elections. And we welcome both Samantha and Monica to the POBSA board. Monica had been on previously and she returned. And then we did our elections for the year with me as president, Sue Ann Smith from Homemade Cafe as vice president, Chris as secretary, Chris Stansberry, and Susan Lee. I got that switched. Chris Stansberry is treasurer and Susan Lee is secretary. So we did that.
Susan wants to switch. I would be more than happy.
Well, you know, and honestly,
No.
honestly, Chris Stansberry does a ton of work for POBSA and has for years and years. So not to discount anybody else, but it's the truth. So, so we decided, you know, after 10 months not of not having any meetings, the last meeting we had in person was our February meeting in 2020. We had a pretty good turnout and then boom. So we decided to start having Zoom meetings and I really appreciate you guys participating, engaging today. And I wanted to, you know, introduce a few people who haven't been on here for a while. James, we've been talking, James Weaver from the Port of Bremerton. Zena Negron is the co-owner of Crow's Curiosities, which is a really fabulous, unique shop. If you have not been down there, then, you know, shame on you. And then Missy, who's been a member in the past from Handmade with Love, but she moved right downtown. So it's great to have her downtown. Did I hear Irene is on here too?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, Irene.
Hi.
Irene, I believe you've been doing photography for a while, but you just opened your studio in downtown Port Arthur.
Yeah, we were at the Town Square Mall for the last 5 years and then
Right.
came down to Bay Street.
Right. Yeah.
November.
And Irene was all set to go and set up in the market in one of my vacant spaces to do couples photos on Sunday, but we all know how Valentine's went this year. So
Yeah, so that was a bummer.
yeah. So we'll do that another time. And Matt and John are on here. We haven't seen them for a while. Thank you guys. Christine, yes. And Sharon, and now Rob is on, and Lorraine and Susan. And I just want to call out some of the new ones. So because I'm really trying to increase our attendance at these Zoom meetings, I had the crazy idea that I would buy people coffee who attended. So all of you and whoever else logs on this morning, I'll be sending you a coupon for, it's only for $3. So you might have to spend more than that depending on how fancy a coffee you want. But Leanna's Art and Coffee and Carter and Company are at this moment, they're the only two, there may be a third one joining them, will honor your coupon and I will pay them for your coffee. And since we can't, yeah, thanks Leanna, since we can't engage in person, I just thought that was, you know, a way to maybe just say thank you for doing the Zoom meetings. I don't know how long I'll do that, but I'm doing it for now. So you all get a coupon afterwards and go downtown and visit those businesses and use it towards your coffee. So I also want to remind everybody again, I mentioned this already, but as you come on, and Monica, make sure I mention it again, we are doing a raffle. So we hope you'll go down to the bottom of your Zoom screen and open your chat, which I'm going to close mine. Open your chat and tell us whether you'd like to buy some raffle tickets, 1, 3, 5, 10, whatever. We have a gift card to Homemade Cafe this morning. And then from Josephine's Mercantile, we have a couple of Port Orchard hats and a men's Port Orchard shirt and a woman's Port Orchard shirt. And feel free to donate to that raffle going forward in the future. So from your business if that works. So we gave a try at another Downtown Dollars for Valentine's. And I don't think it was as wildly as successful as Christmas, but we really like it as a branding for Port Orchard and we intend to repeat it. The biggest problem was, of course, it started snowing. So, and we only opened it for 10 days instead of when we did it for Christmas, it was almost a month-long project. So I extended it when it snowed all weekend. I decided to extend it, and Leanna, I believe, pulled the box last night from the market, and I'm going to be pulling those winners today. And since we only did it for 10 days, we're offering a $125 cash prize to the winner I draw from the box. Thank you, Samantha at Josephine's Mercantile. I really appreciate that. We did $250 at Christmas, and Peninsula Credit Union sponsored that. And then we'll have a couple of runner-up prizes as well. And I think people like it. It's a good way for people to come down and, target downtown for their shopping and their dining. At the moment, we're intending to do it again, probably at Mother's Day. So, and we'll need another cash prize. So if anybody out there wants to help us out that way. The other thing I wanted to mention is a little idea that Chris Stansberry and I came up with from something that was done in Seattle. And we're just doing it on a really small scale, but next week on Wednesday and Thursday, February 24th and 25th, we're doing the Bay Street Soup Crawl. And I've got a few restaurants doing it, and let's see if I'm going to remember everybody. Farmer Rosie's is doing it, Carter and Company is doing it, The Dock is doing it, Brick House is doing it, Peninsula Bevco is doing it, and I think that's it. And it's very simple. We're just doing, each of us are doing doing our regular soups and maybe a special soup. A few are doing a taster size. And we're just pushing people to come downtown Wednesday or Thursday or both days and taste soups downtown on Bay Street. So, so I appreciate it if you guys help promote that, and we'll see how it goes. And there are lots of people on Facebook go, oh, that's a great idea, I'm coming. But getting them down here is another thing. So Bay Street Soup Crawl, February 24th and 25th. And thank you to those restaurants who are participating. The other thing I want to mention before, and I want to give Rob lots of time this morning. Hopefully you guys are looking at the newsletters. I know you get a lot of email, but I really appreciate your checking out our email because we usually have it full of a lot of information. We are moving into the spring. We're feeling confident about maybe being able to do a little more this spring and summer. We are operating as though our outdoor events will take place, and we'll see how that goes. But one of the two things we're doing that are very simple and COVID doesn't matter, is hanging our flower baskets again. And because of COVID last year, we were pretty short on funds. We are short on funds. We did not push dues renewals last year, and we are doing that this year. We need people to pay their dues in order for us to function as an organization. Kitsap Bank has been a sponsor of our Hanging Flower Basket program for a while. And as I said in the last newsletter, I don't even think all POBSA members, and I know the general public doesn't realize that POBSA has been the source of those hanging baskets for a long, long time, as well as fixing the irrigation system. And I'm confident at some point in the future, that'll be something that we'll have the city will have more of a hand in, but it's POBSA's project and we have to pay for it right now. And the same thing with the sidewalk planters. The same with the icicle lights. Up until 2 Christmases ago, we funded all that. So we are short $800 for the hanging flower basket. And we've had a great response in the last couple of days since we announced we were looking for $100 sponsors. I believe I have 4. I'm gonna wait on mentioning them because I want to make sure that I've got that correct information. And as I said, we needed at least 800 just to pay for the baskets, and we do still have irrigation system repair to do as well. So it looks like there's going to be no problem doing the hanging baskets. People are being generous. So if you've got $100 and you want to be a Bay Street bloomer, you can tell us in chat right now, and Chris and I will get some forms out to you. The sidewalk planters, we're doing exactly as we did last year, which prior to that, we had bought the flowers for the planters on the sidewalk and planted them. This last year, we decided to have them adopted. It went quite well, and we are in the process of contacting our former planter adoptees. We have quite a few people who've already committed. I know Missy wants to do one. I know Carter and Company is doing, I think 3. Sam is doing a couple. The market's doing a couple. Lorraine's doing one. Mallory's doing two. So we're filling them up. We have 58 planters. So do let us know if you want to do that. Do not please just start planting any planter along the sidewalk. That happened last year and it kind of got us messed up. So we are assigning them. You can request a planter, but we are assigning them. And we're hoping to have them all planted up by the end of April or by the first week of May. People really, really appreciate the beautification efforts downtown. They love the planters. They love the hanging baskets. They love the icicle lights. They love the Christmas trees. So we need your help to keep that going.
Great. Can I ask a follow-up question on that? So
Yes, please.
on the because I know somebody's got a mayor's report that he gives on Tuesday evenings, and I was want to make sure I have accurate information. So you recognize somebody as a Bay Street bloomer for $100 donation, and they buy a basket. Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, they donate the money. We buy all our baskets through Brothers Greenhouse. Yes, they donate the money. Yeah.
Okay.
And somebody had made a comment, well, couldn't you go to Lowe's? Well, having had firsthand experience with those baskets last year, another thing people don't realize is how huge they are. They're huge. Right. They're huge. Yeah. They're heavy. They're great, big, heavy duty baskets. And when you think about it, if you put just a regular size Lowe's basket up there, it'd be lost. So, and Brothers does an excellent job. We return the actual hanging basket part to them each at the end of the season, and they replant them. So yes, so $100 to be a Bay Street bloomer.
Okay.
And if we get more than I need for the actual hanging baskets, we do still have some repairs to the irrigation system. We did substantial repairs on 2 blocks last year, but we still have some more repairs. So
okay. Put me down for 100.
Thank you, Rob. The last thing before I introduce Rob is that and I'm only going to mention this briefly, we'll talk more about it. I had started a project that, it was 1993 when I was in Annapolis, Maryland, and they do, at least up until last year, they were doing it. They do a May Day basket competition, and I was enthralled with it. I loved it. We walked the streets of Annapolis, and businesses did it, and homes did it. And for decades, I wanted to do it. So we started it in 2019. It went very well. I can't remember now. I don't know if anybody else remembers how many we had, Chris. Probably 20.
At least 20.
Yeah, maybe 23 or 24. And we just did it downtown. And this is slightly different than adopting a hanging basket or a sidewalk planter. We're just looking for the actual storefronts downtown to do this. And they did a display for either their door, on their door, or outside their door. So we did not do that in 2020 because of COVID. We are planning on doing it this year, and that will be on May 1st. So, and again, it's pretty simple. You just come up with people do them all different ways, using a bicycle with a bicycle basket if you have room. Obviously, you don't want to block the sidewalk. We'll get in trouble for that. So, but just be thinking about that if you are actually a storefront in downtown Port Orchard. We appreciate your doing that. So I'm going to turn this over to Rob, reminding you again, if you want to buy raffle tickets, please tell us that in the chat.
And don't
Rob?
wait, because I have to write your name on the tickets.
Yes. So Rob is in his second term of being the City of Port Orchard mayor. And I think you had 2 terms as a city council person. Is that correct, Rob?
14 years.
14 years, so way more in 2 terms. And during the time he was, on the city council prior to being the mayor, he was the manager of the Columbia Bank, which was, I'm sure in part to his doings, has always been a big supporter of our Fathoms of Fun Festival, the parade. I think he's one of the better mayors we've had in years. We have a great city council right now. Of course, he's my friend, but I've gotten to know him over, 20 years now. Got to know him when I was at the chamber. He is a prior president of the Port Orchard Chamber of Commerce. So I'm just thrilled to have him in office. working very, very hard with a great city council that is getting a lot done. There is so much happening in Port Orchard, and I'm so excited to be down there and be a part of it and have our mayor and our city really making things happen. So I'm going to leave it at that, Rob, and let you take over.
And Rob, do you need controls to share your screen?
Please, I'll in a moment, I will. Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and do that right now.
Thank you, Corinne, for your kind words. I'm excited to be here. I just absolutely love being your mayor. This is the best job in the world. I really believe that. And I've got some exciting stuff to share, you know, where the good things that happened last year and some of the exciting things we're doing as a city right now. But I think we need to talk a little bit, you know, 2020 was a bit of a bummer here with COVID and more than a bummer. And so I just want to talk about some of the reality of what we're going through right now, you know, and I know I acknowledge, I mean, I managed a bank here in town for 20 years, you know, lent to many of the small businesses in our community. So I fully understand the challenges of operating a small business, and these difficult times make it even tougher, you know. The rules for having your business seem to change on a moment's notice, and which makes it even more difficult. You know, last week the city council and I signed on to a letter that we sent to the governor's office. Maybe we played a small part in us getting to phase 2. I know that our senator, within 30 minutes of me sending that letter electronically to me, reached out to me and said, we're in caucus right now talking about this very issue. And so our letter was very timely. And the next day, the governor changed his position, and now we're in phase 2, which I'm thankful for. You know, I know it's frustrating, you know, decisions seem to be being made up on the fly on this phasing. It appears to me anyway. Works one way today and another way tomorrow. I wish I had some level of control over this process. I really don't. Unfortunately, the governor's office doesn't seek input from small cities like Port Orchard in these processes. So it's disappointing. Vaccines, you know, my goodness, if our state's plan was to have our local medical offices administer the vaccines, and it appears that was the plan all along, nobody was told until the 11th hour. You know, we were living this for 9-10 months before the vaccine started rolling out. These systems should have all been put in place long before that. And now that wouldn't solve the vaccine shortages, but the logistical aspect just wasn't well thought out at all. And that isn't any, you know, I want to commend our local public health officials. I was sat on the board. I'm on the board, and I was the chair of the board this last year at Kitsap Public Health. And they had no idea that they played an integral role in the vaccine process. And they should have known that much sooner. You know, they're stretched so thin right now doing contact tracing and all of the other things that they need to do at the public health board. And so I have some disappointment there. As of yesterday's data, 14% of our population in Kitsap County has gotten their first vaccination, and 4% have been fully vaccinated. So, and you're probably aware of what you're reading. The vaccines that we're getting are being prioritized to those second doses, because the vaccine's in limited supply, and the storms that have, you know, are ravaging our nation are affecting the logistics of the delivery of those vaccines. So I don't want to be negative. I just want you to recognize I too am frustrated with what's going on. And there are definitely signs of optimism, but we really need to get our schools, our businesses, and our offices reopened to get you know, our lives, some sense of normalcy back to our lives. I want to see us all prosper in 2021 and not have a repeat of what we experienced in 2020. And I don't think you do either. So let's talk about fun stuff. So what I've learned from when I gave this presentation previously is that if I try to do this as a slideshow, my slides you don't see my slides advancing. So I need to give you kind of the down and dirty side of my PowerPoint. And can everybody see my screen?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. And there's going to be a lot of, there's a lot of information here, and I'm going to talk really fast. This is a small group. Just speak up and stop me and ask your questions at any time. I want to answer your questions too. So this is my annual State of the City report. I typically give it to POBSA and the chamber, and I give it at a couple of all staff meetings and service clubs and anybody else that wants to hear me talk. So let's see here. All right. In 2020, we were shut down too for part of the year. So I had a much longer list. You'll see my list of goals next for 2021, and they're always goals, and they're always probably twice as much as we can accomplish in a year, but that's what goals are. We've got to push everybody a little bit. So in 2021, we finished drilling the well, the deep aquifer well at the top of the hill at Sedgwick. We still, we have some challenges I'll talk about later as far as getting water out of the ground. It's called the Foster pilot program that we're part of, and we just don't have permission yet to draw that water out of the ground yet. We built a lift station right outside, a new sewer lift station right outside of McCormick Woods. You've probably seen that being wrapped up here recently. That was about a $3 million project. We had good financial policies as far as our reserves, but the pandemic made us realize that we didn't have reserves. So we had reserves for our general funds, but we have enterprise funds, which are, our sewer and water utilities. Well, the pandemic created a situation where people couldn't pay, and that's normalizing a bit. So we didn't have policy. So this past year we created policies and we're building reserves in our utility accounts. So when things like the pandemic or a federal shutdown, so many people here and we hear those from time to time, and they don't seem to last very long, but they do impact people's ability to pay their bills. And then and as a result, it impacts the coffers at City Hall and our ability to pay our bills. We completed a sub-area plan for Ruby Creek. There was a presentation about a park and ride, matter of fact, Tuesday night. And Ruby Creek is Sedgwick and Sydney out just past Lowe's at that Albertsons intersection. If you head back towards the city down Sydney, we've got a sub-area plan we would like to see mixed use development, multi-story buildings. And there's plans for a 200-car park and ride lot on the back side of that development. And that is part of our goal and Kitsap Transit's goal. They want to get more cars off the road heading to Gorst. And my desire is to get our commuters off our waterfront. And we have use that property on our waterfront in a different manner than today. We need short-term parking, but we shouldn't be storing cars all day long from commuters on our waterfront. There's better places for that. If you haven't seen it, we've selected a site for the community center. It's the old Kitsap Bank site. It's what's the current Kitsap Bank site. So hopefully it's soon to be the old Kitsap Bank site. And there's a lot of work going on related to that. I'll talk more about that later in my presentation. Our police department brought a group of community stakeholders together and created a strategic plan, which I think was very powerful body of work. And if you haven't seen that, I'd ask, reach out to our police chief, Matt Brown. He would love to give you a presentation on it. It's very, very good body of work. We've gotten all of our environmental permits renewed for our property acquisitions and eventual construction of the next segment of the Bay Street Pathway, which takes us from West Bay to the Annapolis Ferry Dock. So we'll be hopefully acquiring real estate in 2021. And we continue, we've been investing in technology, and COVID brought new needs that we never thought of, and teleworking and so on and so forth. So we spent a lot of money this last year on teleworking equipment and technology that enables our employees to work and to work from home, because we can't have people in the office the way that we have traditionally. So, and I see that continuing past COVID. Tuesday night we live streamed our first city council meeting. Bob Smith from the Portrait Independent's been bugging me for years to do that, and we did it. We weren't sure if it was going to work, so we didn't publicize it. But that's something you're going to see. It did work, and so we've got some new equipment in the council chambers too that I'm excited about too, because we're getting more. I've seen this in all of the public boards I sit on, and it's in our city council meetings. These Zoom meetings allow more people to participate in these meetings. Believe it or not, we're getting more participation than we ever have. So I don't, while we will at some point be gathering at City Hall again to have public meetings, I think the virtual aspect of it is definitely here to stay. I sit on the Association of Washington Cities board, and I learned last week at a meeting I was at that 60% of the cities in our state have lost 10% or more of their general fund revenue. And that is not the case in Port Orchard. We are benefiting from the military jobs that we have that really haven't missed a beat. People are staying home and shopping local. We're seeing that. And we have an extremely strong housing market. And so construction, the sales tax on those construction materials are feeding the city coffers too. So we're in very, very good shape. I just had to learn how to manage differently. We're doing Teams meetings and Zoom meetings and for our staff, and versus gathering in person. So, as I said, I've always got more goals than we're probably going to accomplish. But here's what I'd like to see us accomplish in 2021. We're designing a new lift station down in front of James's office, and it's that, what's called the observation deck. There's a pump station down there, and it was the original sewer facility for the city back many years ago, before the one in Annapolis was built. So all of the city, from McCormick Woods and everywhere, that downtown is the lowest point. It's down there at sea level. So everything converges there and then is pumped in a force main out to Annapolis. Well, that critical piece of infrastructure is reaching the end of its useful life. It's about a $7 million project, and it should be we're finishing designs up this year and into next year. And I think that'll be under construction in 2021, which will involve a fairly big hole down there as we rebuild those pumps and the vaults and everything that go with it. We've drilled that well, 13 well, but we still need a conveyance system and a treatment system. And until the Foster decisions have been resolved in the legislature, we don't know. It's a complicated issue related to offsite or in-kind mitigation, and so we can't get the water rights at this time, and so we can't finish the design or pump that water until we know what we're designing. And so we're in the process of buttoning that project up, and it could sit for a year or two, unfortunately, until the courts and the legislature resolve these mitigation issues related to the ability for water to assign water rights. We Bethel and Lincoln Roundabout, we applied for 6 grants this past year for various transportation projects in the city. Unfortunately, capacity grants, things that provide for more traffic don't score very well. I believe our highest need on the Bethel corridor is the Salmonberry roundabout. But that grant didn't score well. And so we didn't get that grant. The grant that we did get is because of the number of accidents at the Mitchell Y is a roundabout at Lincoln and Bethel. And it's about a $3 million project. We got a grant for half of it. We're designing it this year. It should be under construction next year. We're still working on our parks plan. Hope to have that updated and completed this year. And we're going to work on a sub area plan for the McCormick Village. So next to our park is planned for a commercial village and I'll talk more about that. I've got a slide later on. We're working on the community center design. I've got a slide for that I'll share later. And we're working on a purchase and sale with the bank to buy their building. Working to facilitate the master planned mixed use project and to retain Kitsap Bank's headquarters in our downtown. There's currently, pre-COVID, they had 50 employees there, and this corporate campus likely doubles that. And those are customers to all of you downtown. So we definitely want to see those jobs stay downtown. We're growing rapidly, and I'm very pro business. But on the other hand, during my tenure, we've enacted much more stringent design standards. We've increased connection charges and development fees because it's really important that development pay their fair share for these traffic improvements, for the water and sewer system improvements. So it's important to me that the growth and the development that we get, and that's why we did the sub area plan at Ruby Creek. We're doing one downtown. We're proposing one for out at McCormick Woods, so that the growth we're getting is the right vision and fit for our citizens, because this growth is happening. It's going to happen. Let's make it what we want it to be. This biennial budget that was just passed, a typical year, the city council approves about $200,000 for patching potholes and street preservation and maintenance. I'm proud to say this biennial budget has nearly $1 million in it. We're going to invest in some new equipment for crack sealing, and our public works will have the ability to do some of this work in-house. And we're going to do more than ever in the next couple of years. You won't probably see a lot of it this year because we have to buy the equipment, train the folks. But in 2022, I think you'll see a lot more in the way, we definitely will. 2022, we have the funding, we'll have the equipment, and be able to do a better job of maintaining our residential streets. I want to continue to invest in technology that it improves our efficiencies. We've recently implemented a public records portal. That's a big task and job at our clerk's department, responding to public records requests. They're your records by law. If you ask for them, we need to give them to you. And we've developed a portal, and we're working on getting our documents in there so that you can access those documents yourself. And I don't have to utilize staff time to get something to you that you're entitled to have. I think next Tuesday, we're going to approve a contract with a company to increase our cybersecurity. You're seeing, I think you read about Bainbridge Island's data breach over the weekend. A couple weeks ago, it was the state auditor's office. This is a real issue out there, this ransomware and data breaches. And we're doing, I can't say that it'll never happen to us, but we've got to take steps to try to minimize our risk and to prevent that to happen. We currently have 4 police officer openings, and we're working to hire a diverse group of officers. We're very picky about who we bring in to work in the police department. So as a result, not everybody makes the cut. So I think, and realistically too, I'd love to hire 4 officers tomorrow, but from a training standpoint, two a year is about all we can manage for as far as training them properly. So so hopefully we'll get 2 officers hired this year, 2 next year, and nobody else will retire on us. So our police department implemented a community advisory board. They were the ones that worked on the document that our chief is sharing with the community. And we're also working on, and we're about 60% of the way there, on becoming an accredited police department. And that's where somebody else comes in. We do certain things and they come in and audit us and make sure that we're doing the things that we say we're doing. I'm an advocate for Port Orchard at the Puget Sound Regional Council, which is the 4-county, Pierce, King, Snohomish, and Kitsap are the 4-county region for the Puget Sound Regional Council, which is a transportation and policy group. And I serve on the executive board there. I lobby in Olympia. I'm on also the board of the Association of Washington Cities, as I spoke to, and I'm also participating in the Gorst Coalition, which is trying to solve the challenges with Gorst. I think we're going to see some federal stimulus come out, and there could be an opportunity to solve some of the problems with Gorst. So I'm going to touch, about capital, some of the new hires that we're bringing on board, and then that street preservation and maintenance. So here's the capital projects that we're going to do next year. We had we built a splash pad a couple of years ago out of McCormick Village Park. We never and we purposely built it not to recirculate the water, because the treatment systems are really expensive when you recirculate that water. We never fathomed how popular that splash pad would be. It's got a button that the kids hit and it runs for, I think, 2 or 3 minutes. Well, on a summer day, the water doesn't stop running. The kids are there. We were going through $8,000 of water a month on that splash pad. It's insane. So that number you see at 405,000, we've been able to value engineer down to about 225,000. And so hopefully this spring and ahead of summer, we'll be able to get that splash pad reopened. Right now it's closed primarily due to COVID this last summer. And I hope to see it reopen this summer with a recirculation system so that we're not wasting a lot of water. We've got plans for the Bay Street right-of-way, the Bethel design, a design on Old Clifton Road for a multimodal path along there connecting the 2 sides, the developments on both sides of the road on Old Clifton and McCormick Woods. And we've got a situational study. We've got about $500,000 in federal dollars. The next phase of the pathway, we want to go west. So from the ferry terminal along our waterfront, connect with Tremont, go up the boulevard and tie into Tremont, which will give us a multimodal path, bicycles and pedestrians from Annapolis all the way to Highway 16, which I think will be fabulous for our community. We continue to work on the capital construction of Well 13 and the Marina Pump Station that I talked about earlier. Personnel, the City Council has approved 4 new positions this last year, so we're actively hiring these folks. This engineering position is currently posted, an entry-level engineering position. We're adding a building official to help with inspections. And yesterday was the first day of our new community health navigator, Melissa Stearns. And she was working in Port Orchard part-time under a grant. And now she's going to be in Port Orchard full-time and under an agreement between South Kitsap Fire and Rescue and the city of Port Orchard. And she is our employee full-time. And I hope you'll see a lot of her. I've told her to reach out to Corrine so that you guys can have a better understanding what she's doing as a navigator in our community to help with the homeless population, folks with addiction, to get them to services. We can't help everybody because some people don't want help, but we need, and this is a tool, we can help the people that do want help. And I think we do have an obligation as a society to do that.
Hey, Rob,
Yes.
we had an experience with the Navigator in Bremerton, and they were amazing to work with. They have helped in so many significant situations. And all those issues came out to a very positive outcome for both the local community and the individual. So it's having a navigator in our experience has been a wonderful addition. So kudos to you and the department for putting that together, or for the city.
And this is talking to Melissa yesterday. We're a first of its kind. Police and fire don't play well together. For whatever reason, no, that's your problem. No, that's a fire problem. No, that's a crime. So for us to partner the way we are with the fire district is unprecedented. And I'm really proud of that. And Chief Fawcett has been a great partner with us in this. And yesterday was day one. So you haven't seen her yet, but you will see her soon. And I look forward to her coming and giving a presentation to you guys.
Wonderful.
And we're, all this technology, we have got 85 employees at the city, and I've got an IT department of 1, and I'm going to burn him out if we don't get him some help. So that job is currently posted. So we're adding to our IT department. And since we approved this budget and these positions, our community development department took applications and approved applications for about 300 housing units in 2020. In the month of January, they took application on 300 multifamily units in January to give so it's just crazy. It's crazy amount. So I've gotten I've got approval Tuesday night for an intern and to add take one of their part-time employees to full-time, just so that some folks can come up for air in our Department of Community Development. So, and that intern could likely turn into an entry-level planning position in the next, 3 to 6 months if this level of demand continues. This is the street program that I talked about. We're going to put about $5 million into our streets. We got street sweeping and other things that we do, and striping, which are typical maintenance. But these items that you see here below are beyond the norm. I mean, of course, you're not going to see much benefit from the Lund Avenue bridge maintenance, but we don't want a West Seattle bridge situation in here in Port Orchard. So we continually monitor our bridge and make sure that we don't have any problems with it. So unfortunately, it's fairly expensive to have this piece of specialized equipment come in and survey the underside of the bridge. So that we're going to do that next year. And then you're seeing the nearly $1 million that we're going to put into our paving program. Here is a concept on the Lincoln Avenue Bethel roundabout, and it's undecided yet whether Mitchell it's likely will become a one-way street or a dead-end street there. It's a safety grant, and so the safest solution is going to drive it, because we have to comply with the terms of the grant. But this project we just awarded the contract Tuesday, and it'll be designed this year and under construction next year. And I'm gonna this isn't in my slides. There's another roundabout plan down by KFC, and I just learned matter of fact, yesterday I learned that the state's plan is to close Bay Street for a week or two, and during that construction. And I said, that's unacceptable. So I might need your help pushing back on the state. I haven't even shared that with the city council yet, but I just told the state that's not acceptable, that they need to find solutions, whether it's flagging and, significant delays, or eliminate, you don't have left-hand turns for a couple weeks is more, because you could go around it. But totally closing that intersection for a couple of weeks is not a viable solution, in my opinion. So just want you to be aware of that. And I might need your help pushing back and getting some letters if it comes to that. This is the Ruby Creek sub-area plan that I talked about. And in that right image where you see apartment buildings, that likely will be a park and ride lot instead back there. And you're seeing 3 and 4-story buildings is what we're envisioning along the frontage, ground floor retail with apartments or condominiums above them. So I think that's it. So
Where is that?
so if you took the Sedgwick exit and headed towards Lowe's and you came down to Sedgwick and Sydney and you made a right, you're now driving. So that area right in there, there to what's called, there's some guardrail about a quarter mile down the road towards the grade school. That's a creek crossing right there called Ruby Creek. So that's why we call this the Ruby Creek sub area, maybe potentially the Ruby Creek community at some point.
That's near Grace Chevrolet, right? In that
Yeah,
area.
this south.
Hubdy Road.
Yeah, south of Hovde Road, north of Sedgwick, between those 2 roads.
Right.
Here is, and I know this is tough to see, the images. This is the McCormick Village. To the right of the image is our McCormick Village Park. It shows future improvements with a small amphitheater and an expansion to the park that ties into this. And there's a commercial village there. To the top of the picture is single family dwellings, and down at the bottom are townhomes and cottages and cottage type style development, surrounded by a small commercial village, very walkable. And so we're going to be working on a sub area plan for that area where we engage with the community to make sure that the developers' concepts turn into what our community really wants to see out there. Community center, this is dated information, so I apologize for that. So we this past year we looked at 3 different. We started with. So let me back up even farther. It was initially proposed that the community center would go where 7-Eleven is, and when the project was handed off to the city, the first thing I did is walk over and talk to the owners of the 7-Eleven site and asked if their property was for sale, would be available. And I was told, no, it is not. So we backed up and we started a process with community outreach to find out what amenities our community wanted to see in a community center, and which drove our site selection criteria in our process. We started with 8 sites. We narrowed it down to 3 sites. The sites that we narrowed it down to were the current library site, as an element of the residential mixed use project across from the Kitsap Bank and next to City Hall. And the third option was the current Kitsap Bank site. And it was very apparent in the public outreach that outside space for festivals and activities, the farmers market, some of the things Sharon does with Fathoms are really important to our community, and the access to the water. And it was just very apparent as we went through this process what our community desired, that there was only one site that checked all the boxes, and that's the current Kitsap Bank site. Now that we've selected that, I went on to the assessor's rolls, and we're doing an appraisal right now to determine what it's worth. We've selected the most expensive piece of property in all of downtown Port Orchard, of course, but that's what our community wants. So we're going to find a way to make it happen. So right now so there's 3 stakeholders in this, what I'm calling a 3-legged stool. We've got $20 million. We've got a $20 million community center. 12 million of it is going to get paid for from the Public Facilities Board. But with that comes the commitment from us that we're going to build this, what I call this 3-legged stool. The Kitsap Bank headquarters has to happen, and the housing and parking garage needs to happen. And I've seen some of the initial concepts. There's roughly 300 parking stalls that get created. Parking gets moved off the waterfront, but there is additional parking that gets created. So I think it's very exciting, the work that I've seen being done on this, and I'll have more to share here in the near future. I can't really come to meetings like this when my city council hasn't seen the pictures yet. So we got a bunch of different alternatives, and I can't be out in the community saying, but I like this one, when ultimately they're my bosses. I need to bring them along. We talk about, a lot of folks talk about housing affordability, and this is some data that I got from the State Department of Commerce, and it's a composite housing affordability index. And what it means is, if you have the median house price and the median income, if you're at 1 to 1, you can afford a house in your community. A number over 100 means that that housing prices you can afford more house in your community. And if you've got an index under 100, it means that you don't have, with medium income and medium house prices, you can't afford a median priced home in your community. And I'm very proud of the data that I see here, that housing is still affordable in Port Orchard. You've heard a lot about, and then I just grabbed some other communities throughout the Puget Sound region that I thought were relevant. You've heard a lot about Tacoma and its hot housing market. When you see their affordability index at 132, that's part of the equation, is houses are very affordable in relationship to their median house prices. And we have the best affordability index in Kitsap County, as you can see by this data. We last Tuesday night imposed higher traffic impact fees. And this is me, where I was preaching earlier, development needs to pay for its fair share of our growth. And currently, these are all of the cities in our, and I'm sorry, the graphic is so small. The numbers are, these are all the cities in our state. There's 250 plus cities in our state. And that list probably represents 75 or 80. And that have traffic impact fees. And what a traffic impact fee is, somebody builds a new house or a new commercial project, they have to pay a fee to help mitigate traffic and pay for the construction of capacity improvements in our city. Shortly before I became mayor, we imposed our first ever traffic impact fee at $2,500. And you can see where that put us in the rank of our peers that have traffic impact fees. City of Bremerton, City of Bainbridge Island don't have traffic impact fees. We just increased ours, nearly doubling them. And we're still 4 cities below the city of Paulsbo, which is at $5,200, I believe, or so. So it just, like I said, it's important that development help pay for the infrastructure improvements in our community that are the impacts that they're causing. There's positive impacts and there's negative ones. As you know, I'm very active in our community. I sit on numerous boards from the Puget Sound Regional Council. That I'm currently the chair of our transit agency. I'm a past president of the chamber, of my Rotary Club. And at one time, I'm still part of the Kurt Wagner Education Fund, and we're still giving out money. Fortunately, our coffers were healthy and we're able to do that, but we haven't had any events in a while. And I hope to get back to doing those events and helping the youth of our community. And, as we plan for the future, beyond this current biennium, we still have more sewer and water needs, stormwater needs. I'm advocating right now, and I have been the last 3 legislative sessions, for compact roundabouts on the Sedgwick interchange, where 160 and 166 come together. And I testified 2 weeks ago on the Senate transportation package that has our compact roundabouts in them. So hopefully that that comes to fruition, the Senate transportation package. Those are both state highways. That's not a local responsibility. And I'm working hard to get the state to make some improvements there that create that bottleneck there at Sedgwick and Highway 16. We've got designs for a roundabout at Anderson Hill Road and Old Clifton. And I don't know if you've ever been out in the Flower Meadows neighborhood. And, back in James's tenure, when he was with the city as a planner, we had development regulations that even predated him that didn't require. It was called that allowed what was called contiguous short plats. So people would bring in plats just under the threshold to have to do stormwater and sidewalk improvements. And there were a number of developers. So hundreds of homes were built out there without putting in a doggone sidewalk. And those loopholes in our code have been corrected, but an entire community was built without sidewalks or stormwater improvements. There's kids walking to bus stops and things that are just unsafe out there. And so there, it's gonna be a tall order. The first fix, you put sidewalks on a road without stormwater, you built a dam, and now you have standing water in the middle of the road. So first step is we got to put stormwater infrastructure in, and then we can start tackling sidewalks in that community. Maintaining and improving our existing streets. I just gave a consultant gave a presentation on City Hall. We paid the mortgage off last year, and we haven't done a good job in our past of maintaining some of the things on it. The roof's leaking, the windows and the siding are failing. And, it cost us $6 million to build City Hall. And I think we borrowed $3 million last time. And it's looking at about $6 million for roof, siding, and windows in today's 20 years later. But you can't let your roof leak. It causes all kinds of bad problems. So I think we're finishing up those designs. I think we'll see some improvements to City Hall next year. We're planning, part of the master plan project downtown. I think you're going to see some more open space. As we become denser, which we're required to do under the Growth Management Act, we need more parks and open spaces for children to play, for us to recreate. Pathways to walk. And I walk the pedestrian path on the waterfront all the time. And it's raining sideways, and I pass 15 or 20 people of all ages. I think it's one of the best things we're doing in our community. And we continue to work on improving our community outreach and communications. And last year we hired a contract consultant, few hours a month, but I've got many skills related to the banking industry. Press releases and public outreach are just not in my normal wheelhouse, and I'm not efficient at it, and I'm not good at it, and I recognize that. And so I've hired some professional help. So because I want to celebrate the things we're doing, and I want to communicate with you as we're doing things. So it's important that we do that. And that is the end of my presentation. And James, we only got one question during that, so there's got to be more.
Yeah, and you have some time, Rob. I know you need to get on another call, but
goodness, look at the time went away.
But anyone, Rob has a Kitsap Economic Development Alliance meeting to jump over to, but anyone for quick questions?
I have a question. Oh,
certainly.
Who was that, Sue Ann?
Yeah, I have one, and someone else said it also. About the Mayor Rob, about the city with the sewer and the water and letting everyone pay late on that, which is great if you can't afford it. Mm-hmm. One of my questions for you is, with my restaurant being closed for so much this last year, I still had to pay $1,000 a month for sewer and drainage and all that with my restaurant closed that we weren't even using. And I felt really frustrated about that. And I was wondering if you could address that.
The sewer and water utilities are an enterprise fund. They aren't part of the general fund. And So, and folks say, well, the city's coffers can make that up. You know, we did do some programs, and I know many of the programs, Sue-Ann, were geared towards businesses that are tenants and not business building owners, which precluded you. But I believe there were other programs beyond the cities. I know the governor's order provides rental protection to your average citizen and to the to folks, individuals, but I'm not certain that it provides any protections to businesses. So I wish I could research that for you and get back to you, but I don't have the ability. We legally don't have the ability to allow you not to pay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm paying it. I just called and said, you guys made a huge mistake. I haven't had any business. They're like, oh, sorry about it. This is just this is what you pay every month, regardless. And that was just a little bit frustrating. It's like kicking a dog down.
I hear you. And there's the base rate, and then there's consumption charges on top of that. And so the base rate is, keeps the lights on, and the sewer's still flowing out into the bay. And I know you're not contributing to it nearly as much as you were, or at all, but you're correct.
Okay. So
I'm
not alone.
Yeah.
Rob, real quick question. This is Steve. I know you've got to go too, but you addressed a couple issues related to both the downtown extension of the pedestrian pathway up at Portrait Boulevard, and also the design process on the elevation change to support the potential sea rise. And in the last couple of days, we've had meetings with both the design team on the shoreline piece, as well as the community events center connection and the master plan downtown. And so the issue for us is, and this is probably pertinent and relevant to all the participants here who have businesses downtown. I asked Nick about the timing on that, because we might break ground, let's say a year and a half from now on the downtown master plan. Where do we start? And, the answer was, well, probably where we have to be to accommodate the sea level change. And that creates a problem in terms of how do you get people up and down? Are we going to be 3 feet off the sidewalk for access to buildings that we build? Or, any thoughts on that? I know that's a challenge and a question, an issue that has to be resolved, but I don't know.
So Steve is bringing forward something. I didn't touch base on this, but Steve's bringing forward something that was from another meeting that related to the master plan project. And with sea level rise, we're going to see, Bay Street, of course, that segment that we're talking about between Frederick and Geiger is the lowest point, and it already floods. And with sea level rise, in the next 10 years, we're going to see anywhere from 6 inches to 1.5 feet. And we need to plan for that. Okay. And so we don't want to build these new buildings and they flood. That's foolish. We can't allow that to happen. And we can't build so we can't build the buildings and then build the buildings and sidewalks where they need to be. And now the sidewalk's 1.5 feet taller than it is right now, and you pull up and parallel park in front of it, and how are you going to open your car door? So we're thinking about those things. And so we're negotiating right now. We've got a consultant under contract for certain elements. I'm confident that we have to address this sooner versus later, and that it's going to result in a change order, because we need to design Bay Street, the sidewalk improvements, the street trees and everything that it looks like, so that the development can happen with it and in concert with it, and that we don't have, when we're done, we're not underwater, I guess is so. And we'll likely, once we have that scope, I'm probably going to ask that the residential developer and the bank shared in the last planning effort. And when I get that number, I'm gonna go to those folks and ask them to help out with this, because we all benefit from this information early on versus oops after the fact.
And so if the Bay Street's 2 feet higher, let's say in 3 or 4 years, what happens at the dock or other downtown businesses? Do we all have to figure out how to elevate? The sidewalk goes up and you step down into our building? I think
you're going to have a stormwater outfall that it's at a different height. I'm not the engineer, but I think you're going to ramp, until this is going to happen in, in 1 or 2 or 3 block segments at a time. And I think the street is going to be higher. You're going to go up a little bit of a ramp on Bay Street to get to that 3 block area and down it on the other side. And we're just going to have to address it with, fortunately, those other areas aren't as low as that other segment. And also with some stormwater improvements, we ought to be able, ultimately, we need to raise all of it, but let's devour this elephant, I guess, one bite at a time. All right, one last question. There was somebody else.
It was me.
Go ahead.
I apologize for my icon. It looks better than I do at the moment. So I've got a quick question. I am a new business, so I'm sure that there's probably some sort of process or something in place. So please let me know if that's the case. You touched briefly on the strategic plan for the police department as well as the community health navigator, and I'm understanding that that's new. My question to you is this. In the a little bit over a year that I have been open, I've had a lot of instances where I'm not sure if they're homeless or, just people out having a good time or something, but in the parking lots, screaming during the summer, just out screaming. I've had homeless people walk into my shop. Allstate has had it also, as well as the candy shop, where we've had this happen the last couple months. We've seen an increase in that. Homeless people coming in, grabbing some water or drink or whatever, and then walking out of Allstate, sleeping in front of the candy store. I've had some folks come into my shop, and I have conversation with them and that sort of thing, because gosh, I feel really bad for them, that sort of thing. But I can see that my customers that are in there feel uneasy. And so it creates an environment where, I'm feeling like maybe these people won't come back because, we have this element that's present downstairs. So down there. So my question is there a process in place, or is there a hotline or a number that I could call or something when, these folks are around? I'd hate to kick them out, and I don't want to be rude or anything, but it's driving away business for me. I've been noticing that when there's screaming going on outside for absolutely no reason, people, get jumpy and they drive away. And is the community health navigator the person to reach on that, or what is the process?
It's challenging. It's a problem throughout our society. It's not unique to Port Orchard. And unfortunately, there was a Supreme Court decision related to homelessness and camping that really handcuffed everyone as far as what our police department can and can't do. And I am doing, I've had folks, one of my council members, matter of fact, reached out and said, hey, we need to put Santa cans down on the waterfront for the homeless folks because they're going to the bathroom in the bushes. And so I said, well, but then we're enabling and inviting, and that isn't what we want to be doing either. Right. I said, we have public restrooms down there, and we close them because we don't want people camping in them after hours. The short answer is, if they're committing a crime, you need to call 911. It's your business, and you can ask them to leave. And if they don't leave, then you can call the police. The folks that our navigator isn't going to help people that don't want help. Okay, we can't force them into treatment. And there is an element of the homeless folks that it's a gypsy lifestyle that they enjoy. And there's very little that we as a city can do. One of the things that we do, and it's a little bit edgy, is we don't allow, we close our parks after dark. And so that's one of the, how we prevent camping in our parks, because even I can't be in the park after dark. And so our police department can ask anybody that's in a park after dark to leave.
Do we have police patrols?
Oh, yes, we do. Yes.
Oh.
We don't have the staffing that we want. We've got currently what do we have, 20 officers, and we have 4 job openings. I mean, you know, as soon as we can fit, we'll have more police patrols as we hire more officers, but it's finding people to, you know, law enforcement's pretty thankless job right now with everything that's going on in the world. And it's difficult to find the right people to fill those jobs. And what we've, you know, I think what we're seeing in this, when we hire the wrong people, bad things happen.
Yeah.
And we can't have that in our community. Yeah, we do everything I can to avoid that. They are human beings and mistakes happen, but you know, I empathize with your situation there, but you know, unless there's a crime being committed, there's not a lot the city can do. And Melissa, our navigator, she's going to be a resource to folks that want help. And I can't help people that, unfortunately, none of us can. We can't force people to take help.
Yeah. And Zena, I'm going to address that just a little bit more too, because I have reached out. I actually am part of that community task force the police department set up for the city of Port Orchard last fall. Okay. And we actually had Melissa scheduled for our March 2020, and then our April, and then our May meeting, which never happened. So, and now she's on full time, and I've already discussed having her and or Chief Brown at one of our next 2 meetings. So I think we can pick back up where we hoped to have been a year ago. So, and we all know, I mean, it's a problem down at the market too. We have several breezeways in our area, and it's a natural camping spot. So,
and the jail's letting people out on the weekends now, where there's no, on Sunday, I had a gentleman come in from the jail with his bag. He had no way to get to Bremerton. So
that's always been the case.
Yeah.
And
they said they weren't that they were only letting them out a couple times a day. That's not true.
Not true. It's never been true. Okay.
Yeah.
When you get arrested, you are sentenced to a time. and when your time is up, or when you've made bail or whatever, you are released. They can't hold you. And so, yeah, it's an element. It's an unfortunate element. We have the benefit of all the jobs of the county campus, and we also get the unfortunate side effect of, we also have the county jail.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I know Rob has to go, but you know, we don't have to wait another year to have Rob back. And there is so much going on in the greater Port Orchard community and downtown. You know, I'd love to get you back in a few more months so you can update us again. And, you know, I also encourage you all to email Rob with questions, or email us with questions that we get to Rob. So that we can continue to have this conversation and address things.
And Zena, I just wanted to chime in. I walk downtown all the time, and I call the 911 and say non-emergency, and say there's a person sleeping down at the, you know, Marina Park, and they're blocking the sidewalk, and they come down, and just a police presence. So I call when the cars are racing through the parking lot and the kids are screaming, and I say, there's, you know, some people down by the gazebo park, and they've just made 3 loops around the block screaming their heads off, and the police come down. So I do appreciate that I can just say non-emergency. And
you know, I've called them several times, or I shouldn't say myself, but various tenants in our little neck of the woods and in the market, and they're actually surprisingly fast to respond most of the time, given not a huge police staff. We've had to call them for our own new building over by Kentucky Fried Chicken. Unfortunately, there's homeless camps up Blackjack Creek and up Ross Creek, and we have to deal with that. So, but I want to continue this meeting for just a few more minutes, but I do want to let Rob go. So thank you, Rob. I appreciate your time and your efforts. And
do I bring the check to you, or do I have to hunt Chris down?
Make those checks out to POPM, and you can bring them down to the dock in an envelope, or mail them to POBSA, whose PO box, I don't remember what it is. What is it, Chris?
What's that stand for?
Oh, did I say POPM? That's the Port Orchard Public Market. Make it out to POBSA, POBSA. I'm mixing my hats up right now.
I did
All right.
collect all the people that said that they wanted to donate for baskets or planters. I got all of those notes from the chat, and I'll make sure that we follow up with you.
Yes.
We got all
yes.
those.
Here's
Yes.
my $20 gift certificate.
And there, so thank you, Rob. So let's move on for just a minute. I do want to, I actually have reached out to both Joe Morrissey, who is the director of the Kitsap Economic Development Alliance, who is also a South Kitsap resident. He's new in that role, and man, we're so happy to have him in that role. He's a great guy, and we're really happy to have South Kitsap represented as the head of that organization in Kitsap. And also, as I said, Chief Brown and Melissa Stern, and there's a new deputy chief, whose name I'm forgetting. She's been on the force for a long time. So one of the two of those entities will be our speaker in March is our plan, and or April. And we've also had conversations with Patty Graff Hoke, who is the head of the Kitsap Visitor and Convention Bureau, or Visit Kitsap. So those three will be coming on our schedule for our meetings, which hopefully at some point will be live. I mean, hopefully you won't all want to stay Zoom. I like not having to leave my house so early, but I really like having the engagement with all of you. So
We do have a hand up. Leanna's got her hand up. Corinne.
yes, Leanna.
Yes, I just wanted to mention something that helped me on our previous topic of the homeless, which I've dealt with a lot down there, because I'm down there very early with my co-op on Saturdays. So I have dealt with cleaning up feces and whatever. So I'm at my end too. But one of the things that has helped me a lot is many of them are receptive to help, and I can't help them in fear that they suckle on and keep coming back, and then it hurts the other businesses as well. So what I do to help them is I tell them who's open for overnight stay, and they tend to stay close to those, and those are in Bremerton. So I have a little list at my shop, and I can share that if you guys want it, to pass it to somebody, say, hey, this is a place you can go. Some of them I don't. There's one, I think I know who you're talking about, who's screaming, and he talks to himself, and he threatens people, and we call the cops on him a lot. And keep doing that to the ones that are getting a little scary, and eventually they do tend to move on. But that little list of where they can go, also for free food, which tends to be in Bremerton, that they tend to stay there a little bit more. We've had a little bit of stuff there.
As we're having this conversation, and I want to get to our raffle drawing so people can move on with their business, but yeah, you're still on here. It's time, and we've talked about this before, but POBSA is definitely more event, festival, promotion and marketing oriented, but I feel that, we might want to have some side meetings for those who are interested to discuss this topic and how we can deal with it, or what our options are, because it is definitely a problem down in our neck of the woods too. So, and we, the 5.5 years I've been at the market, it goes up and down in how often we have to deal with it. So, maybe keep that in mind. And if I put a call out there for some people and we can have a side meeting, please, respond and let me know. So, but okay, because it is, oh, wow. Yeah, so we have a $20, I don't know what, we have a gift certificate. I don't know the price.
$20.
$20.
That's what I thought. $20 homemade cafe gift certificate. So Monica, are you prepared to do that?
I'm trying, yeah.
Okay, so draw a winner for that.
Steve Sago.
Oh, Steve. A gift certificate to Homemade Cafe.
Wow, that's like a lottery.
Let's go.
He's very happy about that. So
Good.
thank you. And then we've got some stuff from Samantha at Josephine's Mercantile, which Sam isn't on this call today, but if you don't know, we know the POBSA board knows this, and a few of you do, that she has enough confidence in downtown Port Orchard that she is opening an additional business across the street where the dance gallery used to be, and hoping to do that this spring. So I'm very pleased with that. She's not closing Josephine's, she's just doing something more in addition. And so yay for that. Anyway, so we have a couple of Port Orchard hats. So draw 2 more winners for those.
Okay, well, I drew my own name. I hate that. No one's here like watching me, but Monica won.
Monica is
Monica.
you're a huge advocate and enthusiast for Port Orchard. So
I gave away a gift certificate for a massage last week.
That's right, you did. So a second hat winner.
Maureen?
Oh, jeez.
She paid $3. Hey, this is fair. I'm literally. So green win-win, unless you want to give it back. Let's see.
And now, so let's pull for, we have both a man's t-shirt and a lady's t-shirt. So let's see if you can make that one work.
Leanna.
Leanna, okay, Leanna gets the ladies.
Oops. And somebody just shot out of the bowl. Kathleen.
Kathleen, all right, yay. Okay, thank you so much. And thank all of you for buying raffle tickets. We had a great response this morning from people who are willing to sponsor a hanging flower basket, and we'll announce all that later. If for those of you who are still on, I'm happy to entertain a few announcements or please and thank yous. We're not charging for please and thank yous at this, like we did at our regular in-person meetings, but anyone have anything they want to announce or add? Sue Ann?
Well, 2 things. One, happy birthday to Miss Sharon King.
Oh yeah, that's right.
You know, paying attention, but we're all saying, Sharon, we're saying happy birthday. She can't hear us. Mute us. And my second thing is, this year's just been stupid hard in so many ways, and we've been trying to open this bar up at our church, and it's just not happening with COVID, and we've decided to postpone it for 2 years. 2 more long years, but we're turning the main floor of the church into another Airbnb.
Oh.
So that's what we're working on now, and hopefully we'll have it open within the next 3 months. And so if you know anyone who's going to want to spend the night in a church, a really cool one, they're going to be able to do that. So that's my big announcement.
That's good. And I mean, for those of you who don't know, Sue Ann already has a small Airbnb that's part of her, right in downtown Port Orchard, that's part of her own lodging. So that's great. Good news.
Yeah.
So,
thank you. I just wanted to share that.
Yeah. Anyone else? I can't, let's see.
I have an announcement. This is Kathleen. I just want to have a congratulatory announcement for Susan Lee, who is officially retiring from the library system next Saturday is her last day.
What?
So, yes, over 20 years, but she's staying on with POBSA as a secretary and board member. But congratulations, Susan, for 20 amazing years.
Yes.
That's amazing.
And Susan is one of a number of friends and acquaintances of mine who were supposed to retire earlier, and COVID, for various reasons, they stayed on. So thank you for that, Susan. So. Okay, yeah. So anything else? Anyone else? James?
Yes. We just completed our new guest float shelter all over the water and had our first wedding event there. There was only less than 10 people, but it's a pavilion that's on the guest float out on our in the public area of the marina, and it's going to be available for any type of events like that now, and it's beautiful. It's wood structure that's very much like the one on the Upland Pavilion.
So this is what we used to call the party float, basically. Yes. So you've rebuilt that. Okay, good.
It used to be a metal garage on the float, and now it's a really beautiful building.
Good. So are we able to go down there right now?
Yes.
Okay, good. Good. I'll go take a look at it. So that's great. And you know, at the moment, Chris Craft Rendezvous is planning on coming back this summer, and we're really excited about that. And we have our POBSA event connected to that. It's the third week of July this year third weekend instead of the second. So
Right.
I love those boats. They're great. Anyone
We
else?
actually had our busiest time we've ever had last year.
Yeah.
Instead of going to Europe, people used boats and bought boats and traveled. And we do have a new program we're working with all the other ports called the Kids Have Ducks. They're little ducks, and each port is going to have their own version. Like Paulsbo has a Viking duck, and Bremerton, our marina, is going to have a sailor duck. And so we're going to encourage boaters to collect all the ducks, which hopefully will bring more boaters from the other marinas down to Port Orchard. And hopefully that will help spur some more of our summer traffic.
I love that. So what's the Orchard duck look like?
We're looking at a pirate duck right now.
That's what I figured. Good. That's great. I love that. So anyone
I'll
else?
have more on that.
Okay. Anyone else? If I don't see you, just say something. I'm not done. I'm not done. Okay. Anyone else? Well, thank you all. I really appreciate your tuning in. Watch your email for more information and announcements and who our speakers and presentation will be the next 2 months. Thank you for, paying attention to our Facebook page and sharing this stuff, because we're doing it for you guys. And, really trying to spread the word about what's happening with each individual member of business. And if you're not doing Facebook, I highly encourage it. So anything else? I'll let y'all go.
I just wrote a sign to Sharon, so she'll see happy birthday, Sharon.
Is she looking up there?
There you go.
Oh, all righty. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Bye, guys.
you. Bye.
Thanks, Monica, for helping out. Bye.